in context, The Hidden School is my third and final book in the Peaceful Warrior trilogy, but it's really odd. My life, honestly, is a little bit, looks more like improvisational comedy rather than strategic planning, because I really didn't set out to write three books that were not sequels. The first one is the main book, The Way of the Peaceful Warrior, but there were pages, there was information missing from that first book. Many people read it and said, well, I didn't see anything missing. But I just referred to these times I traveled around the world and experiences and teachers I met. So I wrote Sacred Journey of the Peaceful Warrior 10 years later. And 37 years after writing the first book, I completed it by inserting another expanded slice of that original story in the form of The Hidden School. And in the original book, Way of the Peaceful Warrior, the old man I called Socrates, I met a real old flesh and blood guy in 1966 in an old Texaco station. He was an all-night service station mechanic. And he wouldn't tell me his real name, but he reminded me of the old Greek, so I started calling him Socrates. So he was based on a real old guy. And he handed me a business card, as the story tells, and it said on it, Peaceful Warrior, Inc., a proprietor Socrates, specializing in paradox, humor, and change. These seem like three key ideas that he dealt with, and we didn't go into a lot of depth until The Hidden School. And let's start with change. Change, life comes at us. Many of us have noticed life comes at us in waves of change that we cannot predict or control. Small things that happen, sometimes big things. But we can learn to surf those waves. That is a fundamental life skill, one of those talents for living, going with the flow. We've heard it many ways. Rather than resisting, it's accepting our reality, as any good martial artist might do. He's not going, why is that person attacking me? I wish it hadn't, it didn't happen. It's not fair. All these resistance things. Instead, we go, this is what's happening. Let's respond to it in a positive, constructive way, going with the flow. So that is a fundamental element of Soc's teaching, dealing with change. And he points out when life is going great for us, we don't want change. We want everything to stay the same. We want to stay the same. We want life around us and other people to stay the same. But when life is not going well, when there's something we want, difficulty, then we seek change, mostly in other people, in the world around us. But eventually we reach the point we realize it's us who has to change. But then we say, well, how? What kind of change can help me to improve my life? And we can go into that a little later, but I just wanted to summarize the idea of change. It's obviously an innate part of life, and we have to learn to address it. The second part is humor. And by humor, obviously humor is all around us. My wife and I are revisiting the old TV series Friends. Incredible writing, very funny show. Most of us know about the show Friends, for example. And there are comedians and people who are witty, and we laugh, and it's great to laugh. But the humor Socrates was referring to was much different. It was cosmic humor. It was recognizing that life is a game we play as if it matters. That sense of divine detachment, rising above the things of life, where we just can nod and smile and say, yes, this too. So we don't take ourselves or the changing currents of everyday life, politics, the news, quite as seriously. It doesn't have the power anymore to toss us and punch us and toss us right and left and cause all these reactions and raise blood pressure and all that. Instead, we just have a kind of a detached wisdom and humor about human life. Mark Twain once said, I had many troubles in my life, most of which never happened. And that's kind of cosmic humor. We realize, many of our troubles, never, they're up in our heads. Barbara Rasp wrote, the lesson is simple, but the student is complicated. And that touches upon that idea of of cosmic humor. There are quotes. It's been a hobby of mine for almost 40 years, collecting quotations. I have thousands of quotations I share with people a couple a week on Facebook and Twitter, and it's fun. It's a nice way to reach out to people. So, for example, I can tell a story. I think you've heard it. It was probably on the Complete Peaceful Warrior's Way, which summarizes, elements from all my books and my teachings, this audio program. For example, if we view life, Earth is a divine or perfect school, and daily life is